So the band, Brandon Wilberg and Music&Mezcal. You're welcome and happy to you are here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah. Am I the first non-musical guest?
Yes and no. Was Dule also here? So
cool.
she is a DJ,
Yeah.
but is part of Guild and also have like he tried to, well, he explained to me that he tried to play the trumpet, don't work it out, and is DJ, and so it's, I don't know, we are talking about the OGs of Guild and Co, no? But you are in the music industry, so it's important also for the podcast. It's not musicians only, is all the people around the music industry, since I don't know, like promoters or managers of bars or people working in the studios. There's like the music, like it's a lot of things, not just
totally
the musicians. But like the first no musician or player of an instrument here.
Yeah, well, not a player of an instrument that gets paid to do it or does it in front of people.
Yeah, exactly. But I will put this a little. Yeah.
Awesome.
But Manuel, before we go into your background and all the stories that you have in Guild and Go, you used to play the guitar, right? You played a little bit the guitar.
I did, yeah. I still have one hanging on the wall. Well, I have a couple hanging on the wall. I played bass and guitar through high school, and I played in band in high school. I was in jazz band, believe it or not.
Okay.
And I played bass in jazz band because it was the coolest instrument that you could play and still be in band, which wasn't cool at all. But I wanted to do it, and so it was like the bass guitar was the happy medium. I could walk through the halls with a big bass guitar, dorky looking pants or whatever it was that I was doing when I was a teenager, and still feel somewhat cool. I played in bands through my 20s and stuff. Again, bass was the easiest way to play in a band if you wanted to be in a band. Everyone always wanted to be the guitarist or the lead singer. So being able to go like, I can play the bass. If you were a bassist or a drummer, then you were
like because they're like outside or behind the stars or the how do you say, the spotlight.
Totally. Yeah, which, I mean, if you're crazy enough as a bass player, you can still hog the spotlight. I mean, it's just you just got to have the best bass face.
Yesterday we just have the Dino.
Yeah,
he's an amazing bass player.
Yeah,
and he's on the spotlight of his own band, I think.
Totally, yeah. We actually just interviewed him for Guild by Association.
Oh, okay.
Saturday, I think. Yeah, nice. So he's gonna have a interview roll out sometime this year.
Nice.
Yeah, cool. He's unreal.
Yeah,
he's the first time I saw him play his like solo bass gig, I was like, huh?
Yeah, it's not, there's no so common.
Yeah, no, and he got up on stage and he actually commented on it on stage. He was like, I bet all you thinking like, what the fuck am I looking at right now? This is a guy standing alone on stage with bass, but he does he plays and he sings and he beatboxes and he just throat singing all in one set by himself. And you close your eyes and it doesn't sound what you think a lone bass player on stage would sound like. You really, he's an amazing artist and super cool guy.
Yeah, and I saw him yesterday, I think so, and he was like, day before Sunday, I think. Yeah, it was Sunday, and he was like, just enjoy it a lot, playing there, just moving.
Yeah. Was that with Uno Mas, or was that his?
Yeah, with Uno Mas. Yeah.
They're one of my favorites that come through Guild. They have been for a while.
Yeah,
they're really cool.
Yeah. And now, who is Brandon Wilbur?
Yeah, who is this guy?
Yeah, you born in Alaska? I heard that.
I was born in Alaska. Yeah, my parents were moving around quite a lot when we were kids. They met at university in Northern California, and then they started to have kids, and they was like, "Oh crap, we got to make money." So when my dad finished his first degree, the University of Alaska was the only school that he'd applied to that also offered him a teaching position.
Okay.
So we moved up to Alaska, and when we got there, my mom was pregnant with me.
Okay.
And they drove through Canada from Northern California in a Volkswagen van that had a bumper sticker on it that said Canada Club Seals. They got all the way to Fairbanks, I think it was Fairbanks was where they started. My mom supported the family on a waitressing gig for like 5 or 6 months before my dad's teaching salary kicked in. And she was like bringing scraps home. She was like, she'd be at the diner, like people wouldn't finish their plate. She'd like scrape it off into a doggy bag and bring that home. Be like, here, kids, you're eating that.
Wow.
And then we were there till I was about 6, and then spent 2 years in Washington State. We moved to Vegas when I was about 8 years old, and we were there till I was 13, I think. Vegas was a trip. It's a weird place to live as a kid.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, when I got to Canada, when we first moved to Vancouver, I was, Tawasin, which is just a suburb about 30 kicks south here, where the ferry terminal is. When we first got here, I remember walking into a grocery store and being like, whoa, there's no slot machines. Because everywhere you go, like, do you remember, I don't know if, like, I remember being in the late 80s and early 90s as a little kid, and like the 7-Elevens had arcade machines.
Yeah.
But
of course,
in Vegas, they also have slot machines. Sometimes they don't even have slot machines, arcade machines. They just have slots. It's just like you walk in and there's like 2 grandmas tucked in the corner, like
playing there in a 7-Eleven.
Where the Keno machines are here, they're just like 4 banks of slot machines in Vegas.
What years you live in Vegas? Like 90 something?
Would have been 92 to 97. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I moved up here, went through high school in the suburbs, couldn't wait to get out. Moved to the city when I was like right out of high school. I think I was 18, 19 years old. Kicked around East Van for a lot of time. Worked a lot of odd jobs, worked up north, went traveling a little bit.
Yeah.
And ended up at Gilton Company about probably 10 years ago, 9 or 10 years ago. I was working construction at the time.
Okay.
And I remember saying to my job on it, my boss on the job site, we were wrapping up tools. It was like a November day, just pissing rain.
Yeah.
And I just looked at him. I was like, I can't do this anymore.
I'm done.
I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. That was after two broken feet.
Shit.
I was like 29 years old, and I felt like I was 40. Now I'm almost 40, and I feel like I'm 60. So I didn't really make any good lifestyle changes.
Well, nightlife is hard, but for sure it's better than the construction. I think so.
Yeah, and I landed at Guild pretty. Sorry.
No, it's I don't know if I can say it the good way. Like it's more kind with your body.
Right. Yeah. No, I landed at Guild pretty, I guess, serendipitously. It just sort of happened. Like I said, I quit my job, and I quit my job to go to theater school because I was actually, it was a year or two prior to that my last band had broken up. So for a long time, music was my big focus. And I remember joking around with my band members. I used to say to them, it's rock and roll or bust for me, man. I got no other options.
Yeah.
And then the band broke up, and I never really got together with another group of guys to play for, a variety of different reasons. So I was just kind of spinning my wheels doing the construction gig. And then I had nothing that I was really going for. I didn't really have a big drive. Yeah. So I kind of quit on a whim and ended up at theater school. And then while I was going through theater school, I was working at Gilton Company.
Okay.
So I'd work there. I started at the door. I worked at the door like in between semesters, and then I started bartending and serving. And then I graduated from theater school and started managing.
Nice.
I went to theater school to run a music venue.
Yeah, but I heard that you sometimes do the auditions and write and do stuff like that from in this side.
I try to stay active in it. It's been a bit since I've had any good nibbles. but it's a tough gig, right? You just have to keep doing it and, you know, find stuff that makes you happy along the way.
Yeah, you know, exactly. Yeah. And maybe you can get a Breaking Bad part, like something like that explode to this guy, right?
Yeah.
Before that, he just was Malcolm Dad.
Yeah. He's one of my favorite actors too. Bryan Cranston's brilliant.
Yeah.
And he was awesome in Malcolm in the Middle as well.
Also,
he's great in that show.
Yeah. And now you're managing. You're the GM of one of the coolest places for me, and I think so for a lot of people in this city, for a live music place. Great bar, great music players there. 740 shows per year.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, because something like that. Yeah. Is that 362 times something? Yeah, 740 a year. Yeah, we do 2 shows every night, and we're closed 4 days out of the year. So
yeah,
you did the math. I'll trust you on the math.
Yeah, I think so. I saw it in a post of Guild or in the website.
Yeah, I would imagine it's accurate. Yeah.
And after 10 years working there and different positions, I think that you know best of anyone how it works and how it's to run a place like that, and the good times, and also you was in the middle of the pandemic. Well,
yeah, it was rough. It was really rough during the pandemic, and you know I know that a lot of people had it worse than us in various parts of the world, but whatever. I want to complain. I'll complain. It was really demoralizing because you know they shut us for everything got shut down for 3 months, and at that point it was like, okay, the federal government's offering some aid. People are able to like stay at home, and you know CERB was huge. But then when we got back to work, they were like it would have been better sometimes I think it would have been better in the long run if they had just kept us closed, because of the fact that we could have, you know, justified staying closed, but they were like, no, you can stay open, but you can't do any of the stuff that you're known for doing. And we're like, well, what? And they're like, well, you know, you have to pivot your business. I'm like, no, that's not pivoting. That's an entirely different business. Yeah. So it was really, we fought to keep music on that stage, and we won. Like we were able to keep the entire time we were open. We were able to keep music on the stage, but and we did pivot. It was very, 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 very different. And basically, the rules that they were throwing at us was when they were like, "Oh, you're a performance, so you're not allowed to have any performances." So it was like you could have background music or background noise had to be at conversational level. And then you'd go into a sports bar, and they'd all be screaming at the television, watching a game. Yeah. And they'd come down to our place, and they'd be like, "No, they're facing the audience and they're clapping, so that's technically a performance." And we're like, "Yeah, because clapping is how you spread the frickin' virus."
Yeah, and also there's people clapping to the TV.
Exactly. So I think the most frustrating part for myself for, you know, running a live music venue was how gutted it was for the artists. We literally have to go up to the artists and be like, you can't encourage clapping or applause. Please don't encourage any singing. People weren't allowed to sing along. So if someone one of the artists plays a song that like everybody in the room knows and they all want to sing along, the worst was when they would play I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston, which is like one of the best songs of all times, and I love it. But like obviously everybody wants to dance when that song comes on, and no one was allowed to dance. Yeah, we had to go to like table to table, but you can't dance. You can't dance. You can't dance.
You can change tables.
You can't change tables. You can't talk to these people. And it was stupid too, because people would go outside and they'd have a cigarette and they'd still, you know, go home with each other, but they just have to meet outside. It's like you're not changing anything. Yeah. And it's like when they had the little like plastic dividers that were like, yeah, that's doing anything.
Yeah. Before I have a lot of questions about how do you have, like, if you have to take like tough decision, let go some people when they start.
Like staff or musicians?
Both.
Both. Yeah, I'm not. That decision's never easy, because you want to always give everybody a second chance.
Yeah.
And a lot of I know that a lot of times, like I work in cohort, obviously, with the other members of the management team. I'm not definitely not a solo show. I don't book the music at all. That's Paul Clark, and he does a fantastic job. And I know it's a tough decision. It's a tough call to make when you have to like tell someone that they can't play there anymore, they can't work there anymore. But I think you just got to think about like what's best for the room, right? Yeah. The best, if people are coming down there and they're not representing from the employee side, I like to think about the representation of guilt. Yeah. So if I've got people, dealing with guests or dealing with musicians that aren't handling themselves with a level of etiquette or etiquette, I would say. Yeah. Then that's kind of.
In COVID, you will be like forced to let go some people, or the government helps and
you mean this specific layoffs due to COVID?
Yeah.
There were some. There were, because of the fact that we were closed for 3 months. When we reopened, a lot of people chose not to come back, which was again, it was kind of a blessing in disguise, because they moved on to other things. A lot of people left the service industry. Yeah. They just didn't want to do it anymore, which I dealt with a lot of crap during that time. Yeah. So I didn't have to make as many tough decisions as I thought I was going to. There was a lot of people who chose to go into other ventures or weren't comfortable coming back. That was a personal choice for a lot of people. They're like, yeah, the government says we can go back to work, but I don't really want to be around a bunch of screaming people right now. Or I don't want to wear a mask at work. I'd rather work from home. I'd rather find something else to do. So, yeah, there were a few hard choices that had to be made, but a lot of it just kind of worked itself out, as things do in this business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you're starting to manage this place, how was it? Like, you already been like 3-4 years there?
I'd been there for a while, and honestly, if it had been any other place, I wouldn't have taken the job. It was because of the fact that it was a live music spot.
Yeah.
Having had a background in music, had a background in the arts, being a performer of sorts myself, it enabled me to feel like I was still connected to that world.
Yeah.
While I was trying to grow my career in its own right. So it didn't feel like a step backwards. It felt like, maybe not a step directly in the direction that I wanted to go, but it was a step along the same road. I could see it being like part of something bigger that I would do down the line. So that was a big decision maker for me. It was like, because on paper I'm a general manager of a bar. That's what guilt is classified as sometimes.
Yeah.
We hate that term. I hate using it. The owner hates using it.
Yeah.
I prefer a live music venue or live music lounge. It's not really a venue in its own right. It's different from places like the Commodore or, Vogue, where it's like a ticketed event that works with Ticketmaster. Yeah. We're smaller. We have 150% capacity. We fill the room based on first come, first serve.
I agree in that term. Like a live music lounge or live music venue.
But the fact that the being closely associated with music and I've met so many amazing people working there, both on and off the stage, coworkers and guests. But that's been a big thing for me, is being able to like have that connection to music. I grew up a music fanatic, so it was
now that you have it like every day in front of you.
Totally. Yeah.
And I just missed the other thing I was asking. Is also with like always guild work like is working right now, like, or before COVID it was like no set charge, or is always this?
Yeah, so the set charges we started sometime Well, we used to. So historically, guilt for the very long time was pay what you can, and that was a really kind of a tough thing to give up because it was we could advertise that we didn't charge for music, so that people could come and get a really really great live music experience and not have to be gouged like they were at when they go to Ticketmaster or you get a resale ticket for a show that was originally $60 and you end up paying $300 for it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that we wanted to be able to say like you can come and have a good experience here, and then we offered that sort of pay what you can system so that people could literally pay what they can. But we found that
just $1.
we found that a lot of people were just
abuse the system.
Yeah. And a big reason why we wanted to create the $6 per set system. So to explain it, we charge $6 per person per set. Every night we have anywhere from 4 to 5 sets, which are like 45 minutes each. And we ask that people pay for the sets that they're in the room for. So if you're sitting at a table and the music starts up again, that's the start of a new set. We put the new set on your bill. We wanted to start charging people a definitive amount for the music because we wanted to start to create a culture where people understood the value
of the live music.
Live music, right? It's like those, people, like we say artist, we say musician. You go to a show, you can definitely see that they're having fun, but that's their job. That's how they and a lot of those players on stage have families, a lot of them have kids. Yeah. It's like they work hard and they grind to be able to
performs well on
perform,
the stage.
And they're very, very, very talented and very, very serious about what they do. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people don't get that. They just go and there's still that culture in a lot of different cities and a lot of different bars of just like musicians. I heard someone say this the other day about a city. I don't know. A musician said something about, I think it might have been New York, feeling like everyone's still struggling for that $50 in a beer ticket. And people are all competing for that same stage time because they do like they love to perform and they love to play music. Yeah. But they also, like everybody else in this world, they also like to be paid.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was a big thing for us to be able to try and create that appreciation and that culture of expecting to pay for talent. Like you don't go to a movie and expect to get it for free. You don't go to see a play and expect to not pay for it. So many other different art mediums that you're like, you wouldn't go to an art show and expect to take something off the wall for free. Yeah. So why do so many people assume that they just shouldn't have to pay for live music?
Exactly.
So it wasn't like a wanting to gouge the customer thing. It was like, we want to create an environment where musicians can come and get paid well, and people can appreciate that that's something with a cost associated to it, and actually feel good about paying it and feel good about knowing where their money's going.
Yeah, and the $7 per set, six. All the money goes to the musicians, or he'll take a part, or
well, I mean, it's
20%, something like that.
It all goes into the music program. So the guild, and another reason why we started to do per set was, you look at a machine like Guild & Company, and it's not cheap. It's not cheap to run a live music venue.
No,
it's really, and
I can tell that.
And we found out for a long time that the music program wasn't really breaking even. Okay. Which is, a tough thing that's another reason we saw people, I think the average we were seeing on donations was like $2 per person. So everything goes into the musicians don't every night walk with 100% of the door, but the cost goes into paying technicians, who are also a big part of it, paying DJs who play in between sets. Yeah. That program, it was a way to make sure that the artists were still getting the same or more than they were getting at the peak nights, but also ensuring that the assets on the stage, we were going to be able to pay for them when we needed to replace them.
Yeah. Yeah, there are some, how do you say, not problems, but incidents that, I don't know, beer in a speaker or some musician.
That's my biggest pet peeve is
break something.
Is when people are in front of the stage and they want to dance, and they think it's okay for them just to put their drink right on the stage, right in front of the $3,000 pedal. It's like, I'm pretty sure that guitar player paid a lot for that pedal, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't want your beer all over it. Pick your beer up, and they're like, "Why can't I put it there?" I'm like, I can't shake my ass with my drink in my hand.
Leave it in your table.
Leave it on your table, or drink it and then dance.
Or
just be a grown up. I don't know. But yeah, it happens. It's definitely one of the things you have to look out for is making sure people don't put their drinks in the speakers or the tables or the stage.
Yeah. Also, Guild. How many years? How long has been Guild in the city?
12.
12 years.
12. I think we're just coming up on 12 years. No, 13. We're coming up on 13.
13.
2010 was our first year. Yeah.
And always be right now. I think there's a full, like a full music lounge, but Starlight just like live music and bar, no kitchen. That is.
We had that kitchen for the longest time was what we called the chef. When I first started working, I called it a warming kitchen, which was all of the prep was done upstairs in Chilwinston, because Chilwinston, which is now the local, was our sister company. And so anything like any major prep that needed to be done for anything that wanted to be served at Guilt could be done in Chilwinston, along with Chilwinston's prep, because we had a lot of the same menu items.
Okay.
And we would serve basically just like meat and cheese boards, a couple other simple things. And then for about a year and a half, 2 years, we were actually just serving a reduced version of Chilwinston's menu at Guilt & Company. So you would ring it in, and then the chit would get printed upstairs, and we would bring the food down from upstairs. So we were actually serving Guilt through Chilwinston.
Kitchen. Yeah.
And then when Chilwinston got sold to Joey's, obviously we didn't have that option anymore. So again, we went back to like a very, very, very basic kitchen. So we've always had some form of kitchen or some form of food, but only in the last 2 years have we actually had a food program that
very developed.
Yeah, and that's exciting, right? We can do a lot with the little that we have, which I mean you could probably attest to. You know a little bit about that.
I think the first time that I just put a foot in my feet in there, I was like, fuck yeah, it's a great place.
Yeah, it really is. It's a special spot, and we do get, it's nice. We get a lot of people that tell us that on their way out, that like, it's neat to be able to provide that experience, because there's really no other place in the city that's
like that. And also it's like a basement, live music, bar, kitchen, place to dance. I don't know, like also for the musicians that like you'll have almost everything for the equipment, and you have the sound engineer always there. So
yeah, and that's huge. That's if you did one with Trevor. Yeah. So Trevor Twos, for anyone listening, he's our head sound tech, and he's amazing. He has. It's not lost on me that I can, in air quotes, say I run a live music place, but I don't have to book any musicians or any sound techs. Like that's pretty cushy. Not. I don't think there's ever been a time where there hasn't been a tech that and I maybe once in a blue moon there's been a situation where like there was a miscommunication, and then like two techs showed up instead of one.
Yeah. Okay. We don't miss like a day without tech, right?
Sorry?
Okay. Never be a day without tech in Guild.
Yeah, exactly. And even with it's actually funny. One of my in terms of stage, one of my favorite things that happens at Guild is, this is weird to say, but it's when a band cancels last minute.
Yeah. And
how quickly that
spot gets filled.
That stage can put together a band. There was one case where I don't remember who was playing. I think in this scenario they actually ended up showing up. There was a band that was like, and this might have been pre-COVID or I don't remember when, but there's one case where a band was stuck at the border and they didn't know they were going to make it through the border. They were in Washington.
Yeah.
They started calling. They were like, "Yeah, we're going to be cutting it real close." And there were like 3 or 4 musicians in the bar, just happened to be there. And we were like, "Do you guys want to play tonight?" And they're like, "Yeah, we can put together a band, sure." And every single time it's happened, and it doesn't happen all that often, but like, it's
that I can tell. I just see 2 bands in almost 2 years they cancel, and it's super weird that.
And one of the coolest nights the other day was when, this was just recently, someone had to cancel, and Josh Wiper, I don't know if you've had him on here yet. He's amazing, singer and performer, and just Josh is one of those musicians where like, every time I see him with a new instrument in his hand, and I'm like, of course you can play that, dick. But he's great, and he works at Guild & Company as well. And there was one day that we were on the group chat, with Paul. It was just like our musician canceled last minute. That was the day that Paul's got his house broken into. So Paul gets his house broken into.
I knew that.
He's like, we don't have a musician, and I'm looking at my phone. I'm seeing this come through, and then 2 seconds later, he pops up. He's like, "And my house just got broken into.
I cannot handle this right now."
Well, he didn't even say it. It was just like Josh just chimed in. He was just like, "I can play. I'd way rather play than serve tonight." So he was supposed to serve that night, and we were just like, "Yeah, it'll probably be chill. You play instead." And then he went and he put, and then it was him and
Jay, I think so.
Jay Esplana.
Yeah, and some people more.
Who am I forgetting? I'm gonna eat my foot now for forgetting who the other players were. Sorry. I know you were there as I drink another mezcal. But it's a really neat thing to see, and it's really humbling, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
I think that Paul has done an amazing job building that culture on that stage, with all the different musicians that play there. It very much, the amount of times I've heard them talk about sense of community and stuff in the music industry and how that place is a hub, and then seeing it happen when something happens, like, when catastrophe strikes, obviously not actual catastrophe, but like almost catastrophe, and then seeing it come together really, really smoothly. It's neat. It's a neat thing to see. And it's cool to be a part of.
Yeah, and I can tell that there's a lot of us working there, even if like server people, kitchen people, or bartenders don't see another person, staff like audio technicians or Paul, for example, that they're still working for Guild. They're still like manage some programs.
Yeah.
And I was checking this Friday, and it was like 16 people working for a Friday. So I can tell that it's not cheap to, to run that place. Plus musicians, plus technicians. Like,
it wasn't even counting the band, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's just for bartenders, kitchen, and servers and support, and then plus musicians, plus
tech,
sound,
DJ.
Tech. Yeah.
That's a lot. It's for such a small space.
And you need to to operate well.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. Funny stories that you have, Brandon. I don't want to start with the catastrophes.
Yeah.
One question that I asked Dule this, and he didn't remember, or maybe. but a big name of the music industry, like big band or a big, like we can say big. We have a talented people playing in guild all the time. Like multi instrument people like Josh or Jay who play different, and they're amazing and everything. But I'm asking like for like if someday or sometime a famous musician came to guild.
Well, we have like, we have a lot of different artists that come through that have been in the industry for years, and that have played with all sorts of various different musicians. Like Darren Paris, who's bass player. He's played like, I mean, I couldn't give you his whatever ography it is, but he's been playing for years. He's played with like tons of different people. I'm drawing blanks, but like Dutch Robinson, he was one of the original Ohio players, and he's been playing there for the last 8 years. And that guy's been singing for 50 years, and he still tears the house down every time, every single time. He's such a cool performer to watch because he's just, you can like, not to make him like, I just feel like you can see the weight of his life experience coming out through his vocal performance. It's a really neat thing to see. If you have a chance to check out a Dutch Robinson show, look at our calendar and find one, go see it.
I think I saw him like once. I think so. Also like the Jimi Hendrix cousin.
Henry Brown. Yeah. Henry Brown. Yeah,
he told me about him.
He's don't know how long he's been playing there. My first show with Henry was sometime within the last 5 years, I think, maybe.
Yeah.
He's also a really fun performer. He's a singer bass player, and he leads a really cool. There's a lot of like it's definitely. I think he pulls a lot of the influence from that era of music, but he does a lot of more like funk influenced stuff as well. And yeah, he's a consummate performer. He loves to like I hope he agrees with me. But yeah, he really puts on a good show. I remember one time he came out, and this was actually like during. I think we had to give him shit for it because it was we were like the whole time I was watching it happen. I was like, am I gonna have to say something? Because it was during COVID, and he had a cordless patch for his bass, and he got off stage playing his bass and walked out into the lineup because there's a whole lineup. There was like 100 people lined up on our stairs and up the stairs, and I think someone followed him out with a mic, and maybe not with a mic. I don't remember, but he walks out into the line with his bass guitar, and he just starts fucking ripping and just playing to the line, and people loved it. It was great. It was awesome. And I was like, this is gonna be a problem, but it wasn't. Yeah, it worked out well.
And never have the idea for Gil have a once or maybe 2 times per year bring a big name or something like that.
Well, I mean, like define big name, right? We get a lot of
like maybe big name. I'm saying like a famous or something. Just to I know like Guild is already a place with a lot of prestige.
I think if we were gonna ever bring in someone that's like famous now that's still playing, arenas or something, or like even venues the size of like. The Showbox in Seattle, which I don't think is there anymore, or Commodore here. There's not really any way that we can make it worth their while, I think. So it's monetarily speaking.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, it's hard to compete if we'd have to sell like tickets at like $900 a pop to make it worth their while. Which I mean, if they want to do that and they think they can sell those tickets, well, I'm game, like for sure.
Yeah,
but you think they could sell 4 times as many for $200. And
have to be like something like I don't know, like the contact of the content. Have like, hey,
we have almost done a couple. We've had cancellations from some bigger artists. I forget who it was. There's a a really famous jazz musician that was coming through. And story is way less cool because I can't remember who it was. But they were here during that whole when all the flights were getting shut down.
Yeah.
And they reached out to us to see if they could play a gig there. And they were like, we don't really care. We just want to play another gig. But then they got their flight home. So
no,
they didn't end up playing. We have had, I think, we've had different artists roll through that have finished their set in town.
Yeah.
And come through and like popped on stage like sneaky like.
Yeah.
And then we have a bunch of we do have a lot of really well-known artists that play on that stage, but it's very rarely booked as their
exactly
gig.
More like that, no? Like I don't know if they come how do you say the Black Keys, and they just came here and they there's a great place, and then just go there, play 2 songs and then leave, right? It will be
that has happened before. Obviously not with them. It happens a lot in the jazz community. There's a lot of jazz artists that roll through town that are like, and we have a lot of really well-known jazz musicians that kind of roll through around Vancouver Jazz Fest. So it happens, but it's, I'm going to tell you when or where. It's got to come and get surprised.
I think Guild have that famous thing about be a jazzy, more of a jazzy place, right?
We have amazing jazz music that plays there.
Yeah.
We are not a jazz club.
No.
It drives me nuts that people still come up and they're like, hey man, I heard there was I'll be standing at the top of the stairs getting ready or having a cigarette or something, and someone will roll through. I go, I heard there was a jazz bar around here. I'm like, no, there's not. There's an amazing venue here that has live music every night, and sometimes it's jazz. Not to belittle the amazing jazz musicians that play there, because there's a lot of them. We do have a lot of jazz there.
Yeah.
But we have so much more than just jazz.
Yeah.
But I think because there's that mystique in our culture around jazz clubs, people hear like it. People can wrap our head around us a little bit more if they think we're a jazz bar, because it's like you say live music bar, and they think
like rock.
They think a cover band doing fucking
exactly
Jimmy Buffett tunes, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I don't want to go to that.
Yeah.
Because who wants to listen to Jimmy Buffett? But like jazz bar, it invokes images of like smoky, dark rooms, with Ella Fitzgerald playing and like some piano aficionado who can play like literally everything that was ever created ever, with dark sunglasses on, smoking a stogie, that's like with a dark glass of dark red wine sitting on the piano. And it's like that's a place that I want to be. That's cool.
Yeah.
Right. And there's so much outside of the smoky part, because it's 2022 in Canada, that a lot of those like atmospheric feelings and images are present in Guild. You go in there, it's candlelit, it's the stage is lit up, 5 or 6 musicians on stage, sometimes more, sometimes less. It feels intimate, it feels cool, it feels like that's that. And so people can wrap their head around the idea. People go in there. I've heard people go in there on a day that it's like rockabilly playing, and then outside called it a jazz bar to someone that's walking by. I'm like, what is wrong with you? So yes, we do have. I think we still do Hot Jazz Wednesdays there once a month, and we have other artists there, other really amazing jazz artists that play, and we have a lot of artists that cross over. But it's so much more than just jazz.
Yeah, I think so. And the things that I always tell to people is that you can go there and you don't need to see who is playing. For sure, it will be good.
Right. Yeah, and that's something that's really neat to be a part of, and I can't take any credit for that.
Yeah,
that is
but
the legacy that Paul Clark and J.C. Thompson before him and Tanya Ganama before him have all built together. And they all, incidentally, the three of them all started Foundation from the Ground Up, which is something that we do every Thursday, where proceeds from the door go to local downtown East Side charities.
Okay.
And so that legacy has been building and growing for a long time.
So it's three people who Paul Clark is the third person who managed the music program. First,
before Paul Clark, there was a man named J.C. Thompson.
Yeah.
And then Tanya Ganaba, who is an amazing musician, incredible singer. The three of them, maybe with, I don't know if it was just the three of them, but they started something called Foundation from the Ground Up, which is still happening every Thursday at Guilt, which is all the proceeds from the door go to local downtown East Side charity. St. James Music Academy has been a big one. I'm feeling that mezcal. Downtown East Fan Women's Center. There's a few other ones. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head. But they have all at one point been in charge of booking the music. They all also have all played together for years. They've all kind of, JC's, he moved back east a little while ago.
Okay.
I don't think any of them are playing together right now. But they started that together, and they all have at one point been in charge of booking the music. So it's been like a legacy that's been building, and I think that Paul has done an amazing job over the past 5 years, really creating a consistent reputation, so that there's always whatever it is, it's good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Before you was, because you said you're being in Guild like 8 years.
I've been there for probably 9 or 10 now.
Yeah,
I've been the GM for 5.
For 5.
Yeah,
and
I think.
Before you, it was another GM that started Guild.
Yeah. Well, Tanya, who I just mentioned, she was the GM for a little bit.
Okay.
And then we had for a while in between Tanya and me, the management of Guilt was just being run by the management of Chill Winston.
Oh, okay.
Which was a lot it was kind of like, a ship with a missing sail, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because it was a lot for that management team to just like encompass another bar, to try and run it. So there have been a lot. I think there's been 3 or 4 before me.
Okay.
But I'm the longest running.
Cool. And well, now that I'm almost 2 years there, and I already know like the back experience that you have to manage down there with drunk people and something like that. But I don't know, something that you want.
I think drunk people are easy. They're drunk.
Yeah.
It's drunk entitled people. Those are the ones that are annoying.
Okay.
Because it's like, I don't know. I'm like I said, mezcal's feeling me, so I'm just gonna go out and say it. It's drunk white ladies. It's like those are the worst. It's like white ladies in their 50s. It's like, come on.
Maybe it's because they have 50.
Yeah, I don't know. So, but it's really, I get really frustrated when people
don't respect the staff.
Don't respect the staff. That's a big one for me.
Yeah.
And a lot, it's really, working that door is really, really tough. It's not an easy job. Because you have by 8 o'clock, there's usually a lineup.
Yeah, and it's super early, right?
On a Friday and Saturday night, there's often a lineup by 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And that line is based purely on capacity, on how many people were legally allowed to get into the room.
And if
there's a lineup,
which one is our capacity? Is 150? minus staff
We-
and band.
we're 150 customers is our capacity. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
150 customers, people, and 8 o'clock is full. So be early.
And that's on a Friday, Saturday night. Often it'll be full at 8. And the line doesn't move for the first hour and a half, 2 hours. Barely moves.
Yeah.
So by the time 10 o'clock rolls around, the people you're dealing with in the line have been standing there for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And so they're frustrated, and the door staff have answered the same 4 questions 150 times at that point. It's like, when can we get in? My friends are inside. Can I skip the line? How long do you think it's going to take? I don't know. There's a bunch of them, and I don't have my ID, and I'm like, that's one that gets to me, because it's like, that's not our fault. You know, but what I say, will often say to customers when I've got like a little bit of rapport with them and we're kind of joking, I'm like, yeah, do me a favor, go home, write your MLA, tell them this is crazy because you're clearly 35, but I can't let you in without ID.
Yeah.
And then when they
no matter if you look like 70 years old or no, it's like no matter if it's a people who have 55 years old, they have to show ID.
Technically speaking, because we're a liquor primary establishment, everyone has to have ID on them.
Okay. If you look younger, you have to show 2 IDs.
You know, actually, technically, according to the law, everyone has to have 2.
Okay.
Doesn't matter how old you are.
Okay.
Which is absurd.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say it. It's ridiculous. But it's we do it. We have to do it. We don't have a choice, right? This is the rules of operating.
Yeah.
Obviously, when I'm talking to someone and they're 60 years old and they don't have it on them, and I have a quick conversation with them, it's also trade secret here. I don't know if I should be saying this, but also it's a good way to screen for drunk people. So even though it's like, if someone walks up and they're clearly in their 40s and they have ID, you do go through the whole ID process. You tell them about the set charges. You tell them about how we do things. Go through the whole thing, and then you ask them. Well, if you at some point in that conversation you ask, I just need to make sure. You say, I just need to make sure you have a piece of ID on you.
Yeah. Going
through that process with someone is a good way to determine their level of inebriation.
Okay.
So a lot of times it's like you go through that whole thing.
Yeah.
And then you're realizing that this person that you're talking to is obviously of age, because they're 45, is hammered. Because they can't even get their wallet out. They're not able to find their ID because they're a grown up. They're not able to find their ID because they're drunk.
Yeah.
And so it is used in that regard as sort of a barometer for testing people's sobriety levels. Because that's the bigger thing, right? It's not just, do you have ID? It's, we have we're not allowed to let in the drunk people. It's not even that we're not allowed. We don't want them in there.
Yeah. And it's also better to them that just go home.
Yeah.
You know?
But all that being said, it's most of the time, 99% of the time, if they're clearly a grown up and then we go out, we have a conversation with them, and they get in. It's fine. It's like, I'm not going to not let you in because you don't have your passport on you and your wallet just got stolen and you're a divorcee with 4 kids. Like, no, I'm not going to do that. But when they have to go through that, it's the process of that has to be someone on management to make the call. I don't want to put my door staff in the position where they have to make that call. Yeah. So the policy is, to come and get a manager, and then when they make a big deal out of it, to the door staff, and they start yelling at the person at the door.
Yeah.
And then you get out there to try to mediate the situation, and they're already screaming at your staff member because they're doing their job. It's like, well, now I'm just not going to let you in because I don't want to.
Yeah, so you don't want like that kind of people being serving, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, there's I mean, obviously there's a lot of you have to constantly be on your radar in a place like that when you're dealing with 150 drunk people crammed into a room.
Yeah, and do you know like a guild have a lot of newcomers, like for guild, not for to the country, like because they always asking where is the exit and where is the washroom.
Yeah,
and it's how you don't know that?
Yeah. They're like in the green room, sitting on a band member's lap, being like, "I was just looking for the bathroom."
and I say like, well, so many new people come to guild. Like, of course, we have our regulars, but like
I do think we've gotten known more and more as being a destination spot. So I have a lot of people that coming through that are visiting Vancouver. And I think there are, like, you know, my undying thanks to all the other places in the neighborhood that send people our way. But I think a lot of people in the neighborhood people ask about live music, they'll send them to us.
Okay. Yeah.
And then if you look up live music in Vancouver, we're one of the first places that pops up.
Nice.
So I'm hoping to
maybe the Roxy.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too, because it's like live music in Vancouver has changed a lot in the last 20 years. When I first started going downtown, which is about 20 years ago, we had we had the Yale, which was a blues bar. We still had the Libra Room, which only went under. There was a jazz bar on Commercial Drive that only went under, I think, during COVID. There was the Media Club, Buffalo something. Bourbon had live music before it was a country bar. Now it's like got video games and stuff. It's up on.
Okay, yeah.
It's around the corner.
Yeah.
Oh, I just told everyone where you live. There was a lot more. I just named. I actually just conveniently named all the ones that I played at. But there were tons of places to go see live music 20 years ago in the city every night.
Okay.
There was a lot more, and I think that it's coming back. Like I really do. I think that there's more and more places that are starting up with the appreciation for live music. Osita on Commercial Drive opened up by our good friend Avi. They're doing some really cool stuff over there. They got live music every night. There are that culture, which is again, when I was talking earlier about like the why we started charging for music the way we started charging for it, is to really push that culture. And I think that you look at society, you look at habits, you look at the way things always roll around again. I think Vancouver is really, really primed for a resurgence or a surge in a live music culture that has existed the whole time.
Yeah.
But you don't think about it. Like when you think about the live music meccas, you think like Chicago, you think Austin, you think New York.
Yeah.
I mean, even probably Montreal more than here.
But I think Josh told me great stories about Hastings before Hastings was Hastings.
Yeah.
Like right now, there was like a lot of country clubs and live music country.
Totally, yeah. Like
in maybe in the 30s or 40s, something like that.
Yeah. Well, all those hotels.
Yeah.
That say hotel on them, and you're like, that doesn't really look like a hotel. At one point, it was a hotel. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what this city can do, because they're being in it firsthand, being exposed to this massive level of talent of local artists and people coming through. And I feel like it's happening.
I think so. They open new places, right? Like also, you can tell that there's a lot of musicians when you have a big list of waiting to play on Guild, because I know that if you try to book in Guild, first you have to like send some things that you are good to play on live, and also it's like okay, I give you a date, and it's like in 3 months. So because there's a lot of people who wants to play there.
I think we were booked a few pretty far ahead, which is a good thing, I think.
I think so. It's a great thing, and that's already know that this is not like the next in 2 weeks we don't know what is playing, right?
And I think even our online calendar, it goes. I think I'm talking about our online calendar. Like I should know these things. I'd be like, our online calendar is. Clearly, I don't do the online calendar, but it's usually ahead about at least a month. I think maybe 3 weeks. A month.
Yeah. That's. I always check it just to what I'm hearing tonight.
Yeah.
So just to expect how busy we'll be. Like if totally. like it's a Tuesday is Harlem on the
underneath the Harlem Moon.
Underneath of the Harlem Moon, it's like fuck it will be fucking busy tonight. Tuesday.
Yeah. And that's an amazing show. That's one of my favorites that happens there regularly.
Yeah. Something about we hear a lot of complaints about the music industry and how the people are, but also Guild have their, I would say, famous regulars like Dancing Mike.
Oh yeah.
We have that characters.
Dancing Mike's name is Michael Sawyer.
Michael Sawyer?
Yeah. I'm almost positive his name is Michael Sawyer. If it's not Dancing Mike, I'm sorry. Your name is not Michael Sawyer, apparently. I'm pretty sure it's Michael Sawyer. But he's been coming down there for years. Yeah. Pre-COVID.
Okay.
And I remember seeing that guy's just in his own world, man. He just loves to dance.
Yeah.
He just likes to feel the groove, and he loves to dance, and he's so happy that he gets to do it there. And he doesn't want to dance with anybody.
Yeah, he wants to dance.
He wants to dance by himself. My favorite thing used to be to see like I remember this one time. It was like a Thursday night. So it was like not Friday busy, but it was a little bit busier than a Monday night. And there was this bachelorette party. And they're all like, late 20s, early 30s, but they were like, they were on a night, right? They were out to have a night. And they're all like, they get up and all try to dance with him. And they kept trying to because he just goes nuts by himself. He'll be the only person on the dance floor. Doesn't give a shit. Like he's just like, yeah. Having a good time. And they all just kept trying to dance with him. And they were trying to dance with him while one of their girlfriends took a photo. They're like, I'm gonna get a photo with him. No, I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna get a photo with him. And he just kept etching away. And he does this almost tap dancery toe tap thing. And he just kept trying to get away from him. And they kept coming up next to him. And he's like, I'm not having any of this.
But he always kept dancing. Yeah. I love his pants on New Year's Eve.
Oh yeah, he had the glowing. He had the Christmas tree pants. He looked like a walking Christmas tree. Another
character that you remember in Guild, that kind of character,
Dixon Lou, who's R.I.P. There's still so if you're the bartender that's working the service well, and you look up on the post, there's a photo
pictures of Dixon,
of Dixon Lou, and he passed October 21, I think, cancer. And that was tough. He was a really really cool guy, and he was really connected to that community of musicians that had been playing in this city for 40, 50 years. He lives right here in Gastown. And he was a dirty old man. He was Yeah, I loved him, but he was filthy. But he really loved us, and the feeling was quite mutual. But I just remember I could just still see him strutting in with his like skin tight jeans and his little leather jacket. Tiny man, like 5'1", 5'2",
Yeah.
just 95 pounds soaking wet. But the biggest personality ever. There aren't a lot of stories that I can tell you with this microphone in front of me about Dixon, but yeah, there we do. It's really, we've had a lot of really cool regulars over the years that,
that they spend the time there. That's the time and the life, the nightlife in that special place like Guild and Co.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of any other like old personalities, because old people are the best.
Apparently. Yeah, and I want to say that if Guild and Co was not a great place to work, there will be no core center staff that work there for so many years. Like we have like some people that have 5 years or more. Like,
yeah, we don't have a lot of turnover, which is
super cool.
Very cool. It's always every time someone comes to apply for a job, I'm like, "You seem really nice." I might call you in a year. It's different too because, like in the summertime, obviously, especially since the last 2 years, we had a patio, which is meaning a lot more staff to run it.
Yeah.
But it's the industry kind of like breathes pretty naturally that way. So like a lot of people are looking for jobs in the summer, but only want them for the summer.
Yeah.
So it's easier to bring on seasonal hires because they're going back to school in the fall.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's quite a few of us that have been there for over 5 years.
Yeah.
Or close to that.
Yeah, I think so. Brandon, now that you are taking over this English version of the podcast, what are the expectations?
I mean, who's going to pay for the mezcal?
Me. This one you paid it.
I think we could. I think this is. I'm glad is this good? Did I do good?
Yeah, it is. It's really good and I think so. It's sweet.
Are you gonna eat the scorpion?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
it will be a. Do you know like the agave worm? I can eat it, but the scorpion, I don't think so.
Yeah. So when the guy I bought it off of. I was just like this little tequila mezcal shop in Holbox. He asked me if we wanted to eat the worm, and I was like, I'm not drunk right now. I think the whole appeal of eating the worm is because you've gotten to the end of the bottle.
Yeah.
I think I could probably do that. Maybe you want to let me drink the rest of that bottle with that worm in it. I might drink it, but I'm just going to eat a worm. No, I think it just... I really like what you've built here, and I'm excited to be a part of it. And just talking to musicians.
All the people that you already know for 9 years.
Yeah.
So it would be cool for me. I'm glad to just say that you want to be a board of this, and I was like, amazing to having you here, and you can express better than me in English.
Well, are you still doing them I can express. I don't know how well. I really know how to put my foot in my mouth sometimes. Like, am I allowed to say that? And you're going to continue doing the ones in Spanish as well, right?
Of course.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Cool. Maybe some in English just to practice.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Cool. And people, Brando Wilbur, and thank you for being here. Later he will take on with the English version, and here's the general manager of Guild and Co. And behave when you visit that place.
I'll drink to that. Salud.
Nice. Salud.